Yo, what's going on, guys? Steel Michael here, and welcome back to another video and another unboxing. I know, guys, two in the same week. It's pretty crazy. I kind of wanted to make up for the fact that I've been losing out on making these during the Halloween season because I kind of got sidetracked, kind of got busy during that time when I did, in fact, have a few unboxings to do for you guys. But now I'm getting to them now, so we're doing two this week. I wanted to do a Friday upload because that's fun. I figure anybody about to go into winter break, or if they're just getting out of winter break, I figured that'd be fun to kind of have this to celebrate, even if winter break isn't started for you just yet. I figured this would be a fun video to have to celebrate the weekend, you know? So this is another animatronic I got for 50% off. It was also a display animatronic, so I have set it up once before. So same with Dog Zombie over here. This one has been set up once before by yours truly, but I'm still going to try to keep this as genuine of an unboxing as I can to kind of give you guys an idea of what the setup process looks like if you want to actually set up the animatronic. The animatronic in question being Nozzles the Clown, of course. I would definitely not buy this one without the 50% off, at least. The employee discount certainly helped a lot as well, but he is a crazy expensive animatronic in my opinion, but he is definitely very cool, very interesting. Not exactly one I would usually gravitate towards, but I literally bought every animatronic that was left at the very end. So I figured he's still one that's cool to have in my collection. He's one I do like. He's just not like a top pick of mine, but he's still very interesting, very cool, and I'm sure there's some of you guys who would really love to see this guy on my channel, so here he is. With that being said, he's on a tub just so that it's elevated for the beginning of this video. I've talked enough. Let's get right into it. So as I said before, he has been repackaged as best as I could. So he's not 100% how he was when I purchased him. But you still get it just because everything is in there that you will need. So in here is a weird cardboard insert. I forget exactly where it goes originally, but that's just there for now. But the first thing you will see is actually his head. Same with as I did with Dog Zombie, I put the heads in last just to keep them safe and from getting distorted. Very interesting looking head. Very crazy. His hair is all goofed up, unfortunately, which is kind of funny. I had his hair displayed kind of in a funny way at the store, so I might recreate that in a future video just because it was pretty funny. But it is a mess. I wish he had mouth movement, but honestly, you know, they kind of probably wanted to have that kind of maniacal look of this guy. So it's definitely a very cool head, very bizarre and out there for sure. And honestly, it's a clown, so I think it's very, very fitting. So we'll set that aside here. Next thing in here is another cardboard insert. I forget exactly where that'll be. If you buy it new, you'll know. But everything was well packaged and protected when he was first shipped to the store. So you can expect that. You can expect everything to be boxed properly and in good condition if you buy it online from their website. So then we got the classic SVI clown shoes. I did stack them twice. That's kind of how they do it here. An interesting shade of orange that I don't think we've seen before. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe we've seen this pair of shoes before, this color. I do like it. I think it is a cool color. Orange happens to be my favorite color, so kind of cool. They're kind of a glossy finish to them. The two legs here, as I said, they have to be, as I said with Dog Zombie here, they had to be bent to fit in the box even as they're shipped, so that's why they're unfortunately bent the way they are, but it's not a big deal. As you'll see when we set him up, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really affect how he looks in the end. His ruffles, his neck ruffles that go like right here. Cool purple color. Just like with Dog Zombie, once again, I have included the price point sign, which is kind of funny that I did that, because I thought maybe somebody else would end up with this, but then again, I ended up with it, so not going to be part of your purchase if you purchase it online, but, you know, just something that I did include that I think is kind of funny that I decided to keep that in there. For $3.50, you get them for 50% off November 2nd if you purchased it then. And then I got an additional 30% off. So I forget how much I paid for him, but it wasn't as bad, and honestly probably what he should have been in the first place. Next in the box, we have his mechanism. I believe his shoulder form here is already put on, which is kind of interesting. You usually don't see that. You usually have to add the shoulder plates and stuff. But I believe this is actually how he came in store, probably because of the fog, the lights on the fog of his arms, is why his shoulder frame is still there. And it's a very sturdy frame this time. It's not like a plastic cheap one. With this attached, I believe this will be attached this way if you buy it new. Don't quote me on that though. And then this is, I believe, the adapter for the... I'm not exactly sure what this cord goes to at the moment, but we will figure it out. I believe these will come in a bag, which I believe was thrown out, or I believe it's in the bottom of the box somewhere. But here are his pants, which kind of have a very cool, like, toxic nuclear waste color. I definitely like the theming they went with on this guy, giving him kind of a toxic waste kind of look with some interesting colors you normally wouldn't see on a Klein animatronic, or even an animatronic at all, to be honest, let alone a Klein animatronic. So very cool. And then his shirt here with that clown logo here, which I really do dig, actually. Which is like a sewn-on patch that I didn't even realize, even though I literally saw him every day, pretty much, for a whole month. And I didn't realize this is actually a patch here, pretty cool. And there's the spot for the IR sensor there. His hip frame here with this piece of plastic already installed. It'll come that way if you buy it as well, to protect the mechanism, to keep things out of the way. Here are his arms here, which I believe, I might be wrong, I think these are actually pre-installed. I'm pretty sure on that. Wait, no they don't. You will have to plug these in like so. So these will have to be clipped in, and then you just screw them on here. But for the sake of this video, I will be leaving it, but worth noting, it's just a little extra step. I'm sure y'all would be able to figure that out if you needed to. And then here's his other arm here with the little nozzles on there. Honestly, very weird arms to see them like this, but that's what the arms are. Took me a second there. These are his leg pulls here. Some additional leg pulls. And in here is his base. This is his base, labeled A. The first thing you will mess with here, with a very easy indication of where his feet are, because these are to keep the feet from swiveling around. And lastly, we have several fog components here. Now, these were actually never used at my store. I believe some stores had the opportunity to set them up. But we could not find our fog machine in time, and by the time we did, our store received a message that went out to all the stores stating that they were having some issues with the fog. So all stores stopped using the fog on their nozzles, animatronics. So mine never got a chance to use it. But I will be setting it up for this video because I would like to see it. And I want to do a full unboxing for you guys and a full setup. So included will be a fog hose here. I believe this is to prevent moisture from getting into the tube or the fog right here. This is the attachment that you will add to your fog machine, I believe, to keep to get the fog where it needs to go. And then I believe this you attach to your fog machine, I believe, in order to have it work correctly with nozzles so that the timing is correct so you shoot that fog when you want it to. And in here is, I'm not going to bother taking them out, but a bunch of the plastic bags that were left over from the clothes and whatnot. And finally, we have his adapter here. I believe it's a 5.9 volt as is tradition with SVI animatronics. So yeah, that being said, that is everything in the box. I apologize that this part was so lengthy. Hopefully your setup will go a little bit quicker, but I did want to elaborate some of my thoughts on some of this stuff. Since I never really did a sneak peek on any animatronics, I like to give my thoughts on them. So that being said, let's get started on setting Knuzzles up. So while we are setting up his base and doing all of that, I will have the camera be a little bit lower and I'll be lower down, just for the first few steps until we get to like his head and torso and those kind of things. There's one last note that I forgot to mention while unboxing, in that he does in fact come with instructions, as with all the other animatronics. My instructions were actually left at the store, but I did manage to grab them before we closed, fortunately. But they are actually at a different location right now, not at my house, where I left them, because I completely forgot that I had done that. So I will not be having instructions for this one, so hopefully I don't need them. But I just wanted to make that note. Yes, you should get instructions with yours if they didn't not include instructions for Knuzzles or anything, but yeah, just wanted to make that random note real quick. So that long rant being said, let's get started on actually setting this guy up. So the first step is going to be to take the two B pulls here on the base here, and well, you do some pull stacking, as I always like to say. You click them in. It doesn't matter which way they go. With Bog Zombie, unlike Bog Zombie, it really does not matter. Then you take the two C pulls and you put one on each side as well. And as you can see, he's already getting to be quite tall again. He is a pretty large animatronic. Before I adjust the camera here, I am going to slide his two shoes over top of these poles and leave them just because that's how you need to do it. It does not matter when you put them on or which direction they go, as the feet are, the clown shoes are, well, it doesn't matter, they're symmetrical on either side, so you can't really put them backwards, which is something I do appreciate about the SVI's clown shoes there. So that's his shoes on. Now I'll move the camera up and we'll continue with the set. Alright, so the next step is going to be to slide these foam leg pieces here over on each leg here so that they get some foam to it so that he doesn't have really skinny legs. That would be kind of awkward. So we'll just slide these down here, one on each side. I like to put the parts that were bent during shipping in the back, just so that it kind of gives the illusion of a knee bend, and just so that it kind of keeps it, so that it kind of hides the little bit of damage that's there. The next step is putting the pants on. If you have a new one, and as I like to do, I did leave the sticker on intact at the store. The sticker side should be, I believe, facing the back. I actually don't think it really matters. I believe they're pretty much the same on each side. So it really doesn't matter, but I will be putting the sticker side facing the back. So you just slide the pants over like so. I like to feed my arm through it and then grab onto the pole on this side, and then you feed it through just to guide it in a little bit, and then you just pull it over here. And then you can wrap the little ruffles on the shoes, you guys probably can't see that part super well, over the little knobs that are on the shoes. Alright, next up is putting the hip piece on, which is labeled D. So you just click it into the two legs on each side. You'll know which way is the correct way because the pins, there's a hole for each pin, and it only faces one way. You should hear a confirming click on each side once you have it in. If I recall correctly, I did struggle with it a little bit. It did take a moment to get them both to pop out, but there you go. They popped out now. Now you can pull the pants over and a little bit, and then you can put, so that they kind of tuck in so that it doesn't look weird, because that's how it's made to be with the hip loop. Alright, next is going to be attaching his torso. So you really just click that in there. It's quite simple actually. There you go. Then you can take, there's a wire leading from the torso, or the hips, to the torso. You can go ahead and plug that in now just so you don't forget about it and just so it's done. And then you'll see that there are going to be several wires here that you want to keep track of. You can click this blue to blue right now, just so it's out of the way once again, so it's done. You don't have to worry about that. If that is unplugged, which it might not be, depending on how it was stored. But then you want to remember that this is here, as well as this wire hanging back. So the next step will be putting on his clothes, putting his shirt on over here, before we feed the arms or anything else through. So what I like to do is just throw the bottom. This will be a little bit easier than some animatronics because it's a very wide opening underneath. Just slide it over top, like so. It's going to fall off at first because there's no arms or anything to keep it up. But that will change very quickly once we put the arms in. I believe this goes on this side here. So we will just slide this arm piece right on through here. Through here. And then put that, these are the two forks here. And then there's the two slots for them. Like so. And that is in, so that should also keep his shirt up a little bit. So I'm actually going to install his both of his arms first before messing with the fog portion of it, like the nozzle actual part, how he gets his name. So once again, same thing, pulling this through like so, and then putting the two forks in, so that that keep his arms up. That's also what allows for him to like kind of move like they're supposed to. So when you feed the arms, the nozzle bit with the fog hose through the arms, you want to make sure that you are putting the metal pole through the foam bit. Otherwise, you're going to have this extra foam kind of hanging down awkwardly. It's going to make his arms look very weird. So what I recommend you do is you just pull the sleeve back as far as you can, and then put the pole through the foam here until the like loop part sticks out right here, and then you take the arm or the forks on the nozzle and you push it through so that it locks into place there. If you want, you can pull the foam over the forks afterwards so that it kind of stays in a little bit better, and then tighten the wire up, whatever you want to do. And that's probably the best way to install the nozzles, the actual fog hose. And then there is this white cord wire, which corresponds with the other white wire that I mentioned earlier. And so you want to, first thing you're going to want to do is make sure that this fog hose is also tucked in through the sleeve, just so that it's out of the way. Otherwise it's going to be a pain like it kind of is right now, because I kind of forgot to do that. But if you can tuck it, you should be able to tuck it through and get that fog hose out of the way. So once the fog hose is out of the way, you can kind of tuck the cord through as well, and then start to pull the sleeve through a little bit, and then you can connect the two wires together, and now the light on the fog is set up. And then you can pull the sleeve over and across over the nozzle in whatever way you think looks the best. I'm going to probably feed it through to about here. Unfortunately, it just ripped a little bit. Obviously, this is a store model, so it is used a little bit. And I believe that just ripped at the seam, so that's probably because I was pulling a little too hard, so be careful of that. You don't want that happening. So then as you can see, there's no piece hanging down. It looks how it should. And then you want to do the same thing on the other arm. So I will kind of repeat the process for you guys. So once again, we're pulling this back as far as we can. Putting the arm through a little bit. I'm going to pull the fog hose through the sleeve right now. And then I'm going to reach inside and pull it through so it's completely through the sleeve, out of the way, so I don't have to worry about that while I'm messing with the rest of his arm. Then we can just pull it through like so. You want to be careful. I don't know if it'll happen, but just something to be careful for and watch for. You don't want to have to push too hard on this pole because you don't want the pole to jut through this foam here. It is just foam. It probably really wouldn't ruin the look any, but obviously something you want to just be careful for, because if you can avoid it, you might as well try and avoid it, even though I think that should be an easy fix if that does happen, you know, just some tape or whatever. But here you can see here, we've got this thing through practically all the way. We're going to put the fork through like so. Make sure that the wire is through the sleeve, is under the sleeve. And then carefully, I recommend, to avoid what I just did, grabbing it by the knot, like up here, where the seam isn't, so that you guarantee that you do not rip it while you're pulling it through. Just to be extra careful. You can learn from my mistakes. Like so. You can see something is jutting out here. I believe that's the fog hose. And that's because, oh, hang on. That's because I didn't tuck it out all the way. But there you go, problem solved. And here is the first wire and the second wire that it locks into. And there you go, you've got the arms installed. Probably one of the more difficult arm installations of an SVI animatronic, but that's mainly because the arms shoot fog, which is something, Bog Zombie, for example, doesn't do. Now we can install the head. Like, just give a look at the head real quick for you guys. Actually, really, he looks crazy and like that with his hair all messed up. And he's basically, his eyes are going in two different directions, which is kind of funny. So there's this wire for the lights. Make sure you tuck that in the metal, behind the metal, and then you use the two forks and you slide it in very simply. There you go. So I'm going to leave the back open so that I can work on the fog here. But before we do that, I will install the ruffles. So you can just throw this up and around his neck, and then you just tie it in whatever way you want. You can always adjust it later. So I'll kind of just give a general gist of what it's supposed to look like. Okay. So kind of like that is how you want to have it, sort of, and then you can move this out of the way and adjust it as you need to do, as you need. Now, one last thing before we work on the fog, there is the motion sensor, the IR sensor. Just tuck it up over here. There is a hole for it, and you Velcro it in like so, and that's the IR sensor installed. So the fog should actually be quite simple to do. So we have this fog hose labeled O, and it has two spots. Obviously, those are going to correspond to his arms. So I have them turned around here. And you basically just slide the two arm holes over like so. You want to get it as tight as possible just to avoid the fog leaking too much. It wouldn't really be a big deal, I don't think, but you want as much fog to go from the machine to his arms as possible. You don't really want to lose it inside him. That would kind of be pointless And it'd be kind of weird to see fog coming out from under here. Or at least I think it would be. And then you probably will pull this through here so that it tucks behind his clothes here. Alright, so up next we are going to attach the moisture trap here, which is this white thing, to the long fog pole that's in his back right now. I don't believe it matters which way it goes, but you just connect that in like so. If you wanted, before attaching the moisture trap, you could probably feed the fog hose through like his leg so that it goes down. For the purpose of this video, I'm just going to leave it, since the back will not be seen very much. I'll just leave it, just coming out the back here. Then you'll take, then you'll take the fog adapter, which I hope works with my fog machine. I can't exactly get it just now. I was just trying it a little bit off camera. But we'll just see. You will put that through there. The moisture trap is to keep the water and liquid from getting on the animatronic. So now you do plug in the adapter and you see if it works.
That's it, like a little Halloween fog to set the mood. I can't get enough of this stuff. Get a load of this holiday shit. Make way for the toxic smog. Pretty soon I'll have this whole block covered. That's it, I'll say. Sweet dreams. I just ooze with Halloween spirit. I also ooze with all kinds of toxic stuff too. But don't worry, it's only lethal in large doses. Look at me. I'm a picture of hell. If anything, this will probably make you live longer. Careful where you're going. I'm trying to sanitize this place first. When I'm done, nothing's gonna be left living. Oh, makes your eyes water, don't it? Yeah!
Alright guys, so that was the demo. I have a few notes for you guys on this animatronic specifically. I know I don't usually do something like this for most of them, but there's a few things I definitely wanted to point out before I close out this video that I think you should know and that are important about this animatronic. So the first one is something that I just honestly kind of forgot, slipped my mind. I could have done it earlier, but I decided to do it now. On his head, I think I pointed out before, there is a wire that hangs down that is a colored wire. I think it might be black, I think. That obviously needs to be plugged into his control box. I forgot to do it while I was rolling. I did it right before I recorded the demo, but I just wanted to point that out. Yes, you do need to obviously plug that wire in to make his eyes light up, obviously. So that's, to get that out of the way, that was just a stupid little mistake on my part. But now a few notes on compatibility and just overall usability of this animatronic. So his main function, moving back and forth, all of this side to side, very easy, works really well, just as any other animatronic. Very, very easy. However, when you want to incorporate the fog, that is when I had several issues. So, the first thing I will note is when you saw fog the first time on the first part of the demo, that was me just doing a weird way to connect it that wasn't intended for the animatronic. That's not how it's meant to be. And the reason for that is because none of my fog machines are compatible. I own two fog machines, both notably not from Spirit, from other places. I believe one of them was Amazon and one of them was from like Menards a few years ago. Not really important. The point is they're not from Spirit. Neither of them are compatible. This end to plug into where to plug into the timer or whatever the system to let it know is not the same as this one for my other fog machine. You'll notice this is a round end and this is a square one. The spacing of the prongs is also completely different. Now, I don't know what other if there are other fog machines that aren't from Spirit that might be compatible with this. I perhaps could just have a weird one myself. But it is interesting to note that I'm sure the ones at Spirit work perfectly with this. However, you do want to be careful if you're buying a fog machine for nozzles to make sure that it is compatible. I don't know exactly what the specs are. You're going to have to kind of do some trial and error, or you're going to have to look that up yourself. I don't currently know off the top of my head. But obviously the best way to make sure they're going to be compatible is to buy them from Spirit, which I think is what they want. It's, marketing, it's capitalism, that's what they do. Just something I wanted to point out, because not often do you see something like this with the fog. Now, I've never worked with fog and an animatronic together before, so maybe that's to be expected. But I did want to touch on that. Actually, I kind of touched on it not even briefly, it was kind of a heavy, but I did want to point that out for you guys, because I was a bit disappointed. Now, I did get him for a very fair price, and I just wanted to have the animatronic. But I am a little bummed because I will not be able to use fog with this guy, and unless I happen to get a Spirit fog machine, I will probably never be able to run him with fog the way he is intended. Also of note is the nozzle, the fog adapter, also did not work with either fog machine. I did manage to find the second fog machine which didn't even have a spot to plug this in, and additionally, the end that shoots out the fog was even less compatible than that one. So, once again, it's not one size fits all. If you just have an super old fog machine, you probably will not be able to use it with nozzles. So I just wanted to point that out for you guys right now, and just touch on that, because, yeah, I was not able to get the fog to work. You saw at some point in the demo, I just decided to shoot the fog just for the effect, but obviously that's not how it's intended to work. You can hold this to the fog machine and then turn it on, and then it does shoot out quite well, but you don't want to have to do that. That's stupid. The very last thing I will touch on before closing is the hoses and the connections themselves. The hose connection on the arms works just fine. They stay intact, they do not move, they work perfectly. However, when you have the moisture trap and the adapter attached to these, they do not stay in at all. They are constantly falling out. They, for example, they'd be like this, and I'd push it in all the way as far as we go, and it just pulls out just like that. Now, that's kind of a pain. I'm sure you could fix it with duct tape or anything like that. I just wanted to touch on it because I feel like this is kind of a mini review, since I've had experience with this animatronic at the store before, and I did want to point that out, that, yeah, this does not lock in at all. Now, there appears to be like a plastic part right here that it looks like should lock into something, but there's no groove for it that I can see in here. So, at no point does it lock into anything, which is a little bit annoying. So I probably just won't use them with the fog. It's kind of a pain to run this animatronic using the fog. Something that I did want to point out and touch on is the moisture traps, which do actually work very well. And some of you might not know exactly what they're intended for, and that's what I'm about to explain here. If you can feel in here, you can feel that there is like some liquid in there, and that's from like the condensation and the leftover fog residue. And this thing is in there to catch that residue and keep it off of the animatronic, because you don't want that in there. If it gets on the latex, it can rot it if you don't clean it up or if it doesn't dry up properly. And that's what this is for. And I think it works very well. And you can tell that it's doing something because I reached inside earlier on this, right? And you get a sticky residue on your hands that doesn't come off unless you wash it off with like soap and water. And obviously you don't want that on your animatronic, so it's nice that this is included. Very, very good touch in my opinion. That is something that I think was done well. Last note, actually, is I did mention that there is one cord that hangs down that I was unsure of what it was for. And the reason for that is because it wasn't used in the store. And the reason that it wasn't is because with this adapter that's essentially the timer, I was wondering, how does this communicate with the fog machine? I mean, I know how this part communicates with the fog machine, but how does nozzles communicate with this? And there is a little tab here that you plug in like so, and that's how. So You are a bit limited based on this cord length and then the cord length of the fog machine, but I did want to note that that's what you do with that. If you have a fog machine that works, just to answer that question of what the heck was that cord for, it was for this. I just wanted to point that out. Ow. That being said, overall he is definitely a very cool animatronic, and I do enjoy him a lot. I think the concept is very cool and was executed pretty well. I think they just need to work on the fog compatibility, as well as just the adapters and how they use the hoses. I think if they can work on the management of that for a future animatronic, I think it'll work very well. So overall he's executed pretty well, just the fog needs some work in my opinion. But I do like how he's got some kind of goofy voice lines. I don't know if I included them all in the demo. I will do a 4K demo eventually, but I do like his voice lines a lot. I am happy to have this animatronic in my collection. But that's about all I have to say for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.